Props to this movie for the correction. Whenever there's some sort of serial killer religious reference and they reference the Book of Revelation, someone's always like, oh, the Book of Revelations. You know all the revelations? In this movie, the main character goes Revelation. It's singular, there's no S. It's always bothered me. Very few movies actually correct that error. Props to you, movie. So Longlegs is written and directed by Oz Perkins, and long story short, it's an FBI manhunt for a serial killer movie. It stars Maika Monroe as the main protagonist. Blair Underwood's character kind of brings her onto this case because they've been hunting this person known as Longlegs for a while. Facts really aren't adding up. There's something fishy about this. She's very intuitive. She's good at piecing together details, puzzles, and such. And now it looks like they're getting closer to figuring out what's going on here. Now this movie has incredible atmosphere and tone that works to bring on that feeling of anxiety and fear. This movie is a psychological thriller, and you want to be thrilled, of course. I like the fact that this movie doesn't rely on the cheap thrills. It's the perpetual feeling of anxiety. Depending on where you look on the internet, I've heard the budget is anywhere from under 10 million to 3 million. It could be 3 million. Point is under 10 million. That's a general consensus, which is around half of Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs being 19 million, which these days 19 millions is an indie film. Point is, in terms of tone, that is uneasy tone in terms of thriller, the movie does its job. I thought Maika Monroe was great in the film too. You might remember from the movie It Follows. She's been in a lot since It Follows, but we are talking about a low budget psychological horror thriller starring Maika Monroe that's getting a lot of solid word of mouth. I can't help but think It Follows. Nick Cage is in this movie. I won't lie, if I didn't know Nicolas Cage was in this movie, when I saw the character he plays, I would think this person's doing a Nicolas Cage impersonation. It would take me a second to go, oh shit, that is actually Nicolas Cage. He is crazy as balls in this movie, but I gotta tell you what I like about that. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what stood out in the way of, that looks like a mask. He absolutely looks like he's wearing a mask. And not in that the password is Fidelio kind of way, but in that this is a low budget movie that had prosthetics on Nicolas Cage's face that ended up looking like a mask kind of way. You can do enough mental gymnastics, I guess we'll call it cope. You can do enough cope to be like, yeah, he's supposed to look weird like that. Maybe he got his face really messed up. Sure. It makes sense. Granted, he's supposed to look older because he's been doing this a while by the 90s, which is when this movie takes place. But what I really like is Nicolas Cage is essentially being the memed Nicolas Cage, but it's terrifying now. Yelling like this! Like Nicolas Cage! But there's this ambient swell of noise and music that's getting more intense as he's getting more intense. And it takes what's usually funny about Nicolas Cage-isms and makes it terrifying. It's fun to see the magic of editing at work. Yeah, it's memes, it's funny, right? Here's that same footage, but now it's nightmare fuel. Now, I'm not gonna tell you where the movie goes necessarily, because where I found it goes was actually very intriguing. It's also a recurring theme in 2024 in terms of movies. But I will say where it was going was cool. How the movie ended, I found unfulfilling. I don't know what to say. It was one of those things where I was like, don't end the movie here because they ended the movie there. Well, now it's over. I get you don't want to over-explain the ending, but in execution, it felt like it cut off before the end of the ending. It left me a little wanting. It is a slow burn, absolutely. I usually find that worth addressing because some people are like, I don't like slow burn. But in a world where the difference between slow burn and outright boring is execution, I found this to be a slow burn, not boring. There was a lot in here gripping me, keeping me intrigued, keeping me locked in. It essentially takes a concept you feel like you've seen 100 times before, FBI Manhunt for the serial killer. How intense can this be at this point? And it makes it feel refreshing. If for nothing else, it makes it feel as uneasy as something like that should feel. And in 2024, the year of horror thriller movies, Longlegs stands out as unique, worth watching, and worth buying on VHS. Alright, so Longlegs, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or in 2024, what's your favorite horror movie so far? It's like half the movies we've gotten. Some great, some terrible. But whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.